and why we make our way back into the city centre. We're going to talk about what happened to the Beatles once they became famous and moved on from Liverpool. We'll bring the story right up to modern day for you. The Candlestick Park in San Francisco in August '66. And then they decided they just had enough touring. The people couldn't hear them properly, and George Harrison especially got really fed up with touring. So they just wanted to concentrate on developing their music in the famous Abbey Road studios, of course, in London, with their producer Sir George Martin. But then in 1967, the sudden death of Brian Epstein was really the beginning of the end for the group. Brian Epstein had looked after them so well, especially commercially. Things started to fall apart when Brian was no longer around. The Beatles did continue for another 3 years after Brian's death and made some of the best music in that time, but commercially things started to go from bad to worse. And John Lennon left his first wife Cynthia, met Yoko Ono of course, and the Beatles finally split up as a group in 1970. But all four Beatles had successful solo careers. Paul McCartney was a member of the band Wings in the 1970s, and in the 80s and 90s George Harrison was in a group called the Travelling Wilburys with people such as Bob Dylan and Roy Orbison and Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne. And then of course tragically we lost John Lennon on the 8th of December 1980. John was just 40 years old when he was shot and killed outside his Dakota apartment building in New York City. George Harrison passed away in November 2001. George was 58 when he died. He was over in LA in California. He died of cancer-related illnesses. But Paul and Ringo, happily, they're still going strong, still touring the world, still bringing out new music all the time. And it's now it's 43 years now since the Beatles split up. But worldwide they remain the biggest selling band of all time, and of course you only have to spend a little bit of time here in Liverpool to see how much tourism and interest there still is in the Beatles. As well as their music, they've left a fantastic legacy to the city where they came from. Okay, we're going to have some more music now, folks.